Okay guys, we're here with a video for the Yahoo pools. I've had some questions and figured the easiest way to do it is just do a quick video. Well, I don't know how quick it'll be, but alright, so we'll just go to the trader pool, MP1. It's become a keeper pool this year, so I can cover everything at the same time. So basically, here's the Yahoo interface. Of course, I'm in a bunch already. You just choose which pool you want to go to. So that's the free pool, keeper league, high roller, and MP1, which is a keeper now too. And in here you can see the league. My team's right here, Big Bad Bruins, and then everybody else's team. And I do have to add some invites because we're up to 16 now, which means we're full on this pool. I capped it at 16. You can go as much as 20, but it gets a little dicey with the goaltending. So that's why we didn't go any further than 16 in this one this year. And, you know, makes it easier for me to answer questions. So, okay, so let's start off with just, I guess, a quick basic rundown of the Yahoo pools. I'm sure most of you have done them before, but there are a couple who haven't. So I went into my team. Now, with my team, because you're seeing a team here because this was my team last year after the last game that we had. I won this pool. Last year was the only one I won. I got my ass kicked in a few of them, so competition's been a lot better, which is awesome. So as you can see, the players I had. Now some of these players I just picked up, you know, like Lars Eller, Orlov. I was just picking them up to gain stats, and I'll cross that bridge when we get to that point. So here you can see we got goaltenders down here. We got defense. Basically, this is your line right here. You have like a certain amount of D and stuff like that each day. Like for instance, I don't know if it'll show me that now, but anyways, you can drag and drop your players in and out. So let's say if Braden Shen wasn't playing today, but I had a player down here on my bench, I could just click on him, bring him up to Braden Shen, click on that so that he'd be in there, and you'll see when they're playing will be right here. So it'll show the schedule for each day. And mainly you want to get in as many players as possible. We usually have 4 defensemen, 2 right wingers, 2 left wingers, 2 centers, and then a utility. The utility can be anything but a goalie. So, you know, if you've got 3 centers playing that day, and, you know, obviously you've only got 2 center spots, you could take that center and plop it into the utility, and you get the points for them. Any players that are sitting on the bench and are playing that day do not get the points. So it's important that you make sure you have your team set up. You can set them up a week in advance if you want, although I always suggest just stopping by and checking each day, because things can change. Somebody can get hurt, you know, injured and stuff like that. So, you know, it's important to check on it. As far as stats are concerned, my computer's having issues today. I think I'm going to have to figure out what's going on with it here. But as the stats are concerned, you know, you can see right here, each week, I wonder if it'll let me see the matchup. Oh, good, it will. So each week you face off against a new person. You've got goals, assists, plus minus, penalty minutes, power play points, shorthanded points, game-winning goals, shots on goals, hits, blocks, game starts. These are for the goalies. Wins, goals against average. We don't have that one. That's why there's a star beside it. It still sticks it there, but we don't actually use that one. Goals against average, shots against, saves, save percentage, and shutouts for the goalies. So there's 7 stats for the goalies, 10 stats for the other players. So for instance, if I took on Alvida's team, and I had 22 goals for the week, and he had 32 goals for the week, then he would take that stat. You'd get 2 points for the win, and it would be towards the score. So let's say, you know, he beat me, but let's say he beat me in more stats this week than what I beat him. He would have, you know, potentially 21 to 16. So he'd win the week, and we'd each get those points. So any points, any stats you win each week will be stats that you get towards your total for the year. So, you know, let's say if he had 21 points and I had 10, then he finished 21 points for the week. I'd finish with 10. And then it would go into here where you'd, like, eventually, when we actually get the, let's see his standings. Oh, yeah, okay, so it will show some of it. So let's say the standings here, I'd have 10 points, and Alvida would have 21 points, so he'd be in the top. And each week you just continuously gain points for the stats that you win until we hit playoff time. And the top 8 move into the playoff format, and they go for it from there. I don't think it shows last year's anymore. It did. And I mean, there's lots of stuff you can do here. You can look at the schedule to see who you play each week. I don't know what that is. I haven't tried it. It's new. I'll have to take a look at that. You've got your different places. So, for instance, back in the day, 2012, when we started this one, I had won it. And then Jesus, Mary, and Hosa won it. And then I won it. And my brother Josh won it. And then West End Hawks won it. And I've won this 2 years in a row going now. So I'm going for my third on the money pool. So you can see, where everybody has been. You can also see, you can go into other ones. Let's go into our keeper pool, which I got my ass handed to me last year. So we'll go into standings. As you can see, Nick took it. I ended up in 4th place, so I mean, it didn't do horribly, but I still got my ass whooped in the playoffs pretty good. So it'll show you for each stuff like that. You can go back as well on each one of these and see different things. I mean, they're really easy. Once you have a team, like I know it seems you're probably sitting there going, oh my God, this is so much to take in. It really isn't. It's actually quite simple. Anyone that's played for, a week will figure it out pretty quick. A lot of these pools are what you put into it. So if you go each day and put your players in, make sure no one's sitting on the bench, so you don't have to. Make sure your injured players are either in an injured reserve spot or you get rid of them if they're not someone you want to keep or they're injured for the rest of the year. There's a free agency list. So, for instance, let's say Justin Williams. Let's say I had him this year. He's not playing this year. So I could drop him, and it would prompt me to add another player. Or you could just hit the add player button. It's probably not going to let me. Oh, it is going to let me go in here. So all I'd be doing is I'd take a look at the list to see who's the best. Obviously Connor McDavid. And then I'd click on add him, and it would say, all right, who do you want to drop? And you'd select the player that you wanted to drop, and then you drop a player and add the player that you wanted. And this is very useful. You can use 4 per week. I suggest you use them strategically. So let's say it's Saturday evening, and it's a close battle between somebody else. And, let's say all I need is a few penalty minutes and some hits, and maybe I could squeeze out a couple of wins in these stats and take the week. Well, then you'd come in here, and you'd add a couple players that match the description, in this case, penalty minutes. So let's click on penalty minutes. Evander Kane, 153 penalty minutes. You can look at his hits, 173, which is also quite good. So he's a good grinder player. So you could pick up him and another person, but you're also dropping a couple people, so you've got to be careful because adding and dropping, you've got to protect certain people. So let's say with my team right here, Lars Eller, Zajac, and Johnston. Johnston is literally there in my team for these stats here, blocks, hits. He doesn't really get that many penalty minutes. So that's why he was on my team right there, was to help try to hold those stats. So, I usually got at least a couple people that I can add and drop. Depends on the year. Some years you just get players that are playing great, and you know what? You just roll with it, and you ain't got to do it very often. But with me, it's always a hot mess, and I'm always dropping and adding players because, I like to pick the old guys. And, of course, they get hurt, and I have to start adding and dropping. As you can see, Justin Williams was on my team, although he had a great year last year. But that's, you can add players, pick them up, which is really helpful. You can trade as well. If you make a trade this year, it's going to be voted on by the managers in the pool. So let's say if you're trading Bergeron for Claude Giroux, then it would go up in our list, and we, the other managers, would vote on whether or not we thought it was a fair trade or not. If we don't feel it's a fair trade, we'll decline it, and if you get enough declines, then it will stop the trade, or if it's a fair trade, then it will go through and people will accept it. What else? All right, we should look at the keepers probably while we're at it, or this. Money pool number 1. I apologize, I have a cold. Damn summer cold, fall cold, whatever you want to call it. Woke up this morning feeling like shit. But I wanted to get this done before I get too busy this weekend. So, this year, we've got this into a keeper pool. So, what does a keeper pool mean? Keeper pool means that you get to keep 3 of your players from the last year. 1 maximum goalie. So I could keep 1 goalie and 2 players, basically. So what you do is you come up here in the league, you go under draft, You click last season. This is the tool I use. And then here is my drafts for last year, barring the ones I've dropped and picked up. So, for instance, these guys that have no ranking, they were undrafted players. I just picked them up off the list. So, in other words, Elias Lindholm, very good player last year, and I picked him up off the free agency list. So, let's say, off the top of my head, I'm going to make my keeper list. This might not be who I keep, but Bergeron, round 6. I got him in round 6, which is pretty freaking good for Bergeron. I was really surprised I got him at that. He had a really solid year last year, so he could very easily be one of my Honey, could you turn that down quickly? Sorry, my daughter cranked up her little music thing. Like, for instance, Claude Giroux, that's an average pick for him, so probably wouldn't keep for him. I'd just pick up someone similar, unless I wanted to keep Claude Giroux, who had a really good year last year. For sure, he put out some serious points. So let's go down like here. Again, Elias Lindholm. I picked him up for nothing in the round. He was undrafted in this. So, quite literally, I think round 17 is our last round of picking. So, if I keep him, he'll take up my 17th round pick. So, because he was undrafted, he's not even a draft. Like, Jacob Trouba was another really strong draft for me. I picked him up round 17. He was my last pick. And he ended up 46th in the league for Yahoo standing. So, pretty amazing keeper there. I could very easily keep him, although he is on New York now, and I'm unsure of how well he'll do there. But, again, that would take up my 17th round pick. Now, where 17th round pick is already, if I kept Trouba and Lindholm, then Lindholm would go to the 16th, round 16, because I've already got a round 17 that's been set. But Lindholm being nothing means that if I didn't keep Trouba, he'll be my last pick, which is a pretty freaking strong last pick. But that's the benefit of a keeper pool. You want to try to get these players. Or you can go with someone like Vasilevsky. I picked him first. Round 1. Had a great year. Best goalie in the league as far as Yahoo stats, I believe. He's kind of a no-brainer if you're going with a goalie-strong team. So, I might very well keep him as my first round pick, or hope he went round 2. Again, I could just keep him. And I had 2 of the better goalies in the league last year, hence why I won it, along with some strong picks that I picked him, like Lindholm and some of the others. So really, you want to look at it. You got to try to figure out what you think's best. You're going to need a goalie. Our Yahoo pools goaltenders mean a lot. They're not quite as strong as your out players, but there's 10 out player stats, that is for all forwards and defense. We've got 7 for goalies, so goalies are quite important. There's many different ways you can play this. You can go for a really strong out player with enough backup goaltending in there that just to kind of maybe steal a stat here and there and have your forwards overwhelm them, because there are more of them. There's 10 of them. Or you can go with myself, most years I'll go with a goalie strong. Doesn't always work out for me. One of my other pools, I had Rask, the Blues goaltender, Jake Allen, and another goaltender. It was Luongo, but it was a frickin' bust the whole year because Rask started off horribly. He sat on the bench for half the season, or, didn't get a whole lot of ice on. We've seen what happened with the Blues goalie. The young guy ended up coming up and taking his spot. So Jake Allen really didn't get any play time at all. And then Luongo, injury-ridden, hard year. What can you do, right? So placing all your eggs in the goalie basket can backfire massively. It's a little bit risky, but it can pay off. I've won that way as well, so you just don't know. And I've won with a strong forward team and only goalies. My forward team overwhelmed their goalie ability. So depends on how you want to play. There's many different ways and strategies you can do this. But for the keeper stuff, if I was going to say who I was going to keep, I'd say keep Bergeron, because I think that's a really good 6th round pick. He could easily go 1st or 2nd round this year. He was that good last year. I don't even know how I managed to get him 6th. I'm not sure how that one happened. Lindholm is a no-brainer. I get him last, 17th round. He was undrafted last year. He had a great year. One of my top players. So, that's a no-brainer for me. Trouba, possibly, but most likely I'll end up